At 74, Walter didn't think much about how long he'd live. He walked every morning with his old Labrador Daisy, made his own breakfast, and read the newspaper with a sharpness that hadn't dulled with time. His friends teased him for being the last one to show up at the senior center and the first one to leave. "I just like my routine," he'd say. But it was during one of those casual afternoons at the center that a flyer caught his attention. The 7 surprising signs that predict how long you'll live after 70, backed by science. He chuckled at first. "What's next?" he muttered. "Palm reading?" But curiosity got the better of him. He folded it into his coat pocket. That evening, he read it slowly at the kitchen table under a soft yellow light. What struck him wasn't how bizarre the list was, but how normal. Each point was simple, small things that added up. As he read, he realized he was checking off some of them already. Others, not so much. The first on the list, walking speed. According to research, seniors who naturally walk faster tend to live longer. It had something to do with cardiovascular health, muscle strength, and overall vitality. Walter grinned. Every morning he and Daisy lapped 2 younger neighbors on the trail. His knees ached sometimes, but he kept his pace brisk. He remembered his late brother Joe, who had begun walking slower in his early 60s. Joe shrugged it off, just age catching up. But within 5 years, Joe was diagnosed with heart failure. Walter suddenly understood what doctors meant when they said walking speed could be a vital sign. The second sign, grip strength. Walter looked at his hands, veiny, spotted with age, but still steady. He reached for the jar of peanut butter and twisted the lid. It came off with a satisfying pop. Studies had found that lower grip strength in older adults was linked to higher risk of death, even more so than high blood pressure or obesity. Walter remembered how his neighbor Evelyn, 89, couldn't open pickle jars anymore, just weak wrists, she'd say. But last month, she fell trying to steady herself against a kitchen chair. It made sense now. Grip strength wasn't just about jars. It was about balance, independence, and resilience. The third, sense of purpose. Walter sat back. This one hit deeper. After he retired from his job as a train conductor, he'd gone through a quiet period, no schedule, no clocking in. The first year was fine. Then came the mornings where he didn't know what to do. Days drifted. But Daisy changed that. She needed walks. She needed care. And soon, Walter became the unofficial dog walker for 2 neighbors who couldn't keep up anymore. He also started helping out at the local library, reading to kids every Thursday. Nothing fancy, but enough to wake up with a reason. Apparently, researchers had found that seniors with a strong sense of purpose were less likely to suffer cognitive decline or depression and lived longer. Purpose keeps your mind anchored, the article said. Walter smiled. He wasn't just walking dogs or reading to kids. He was extending his life. Number 4, good social connections. Walter thought of his friend group. It wasn't huge, but solid. Poker night on Wednesdays, at church on Sundays, lunch at the community cafe every Friday. His phone buzzed with check-ins, birthday reminders, and the occasional forwarded joke. The article mentioned that loneliness had the same health risk as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That shocked him. He had never considered that a quiet, isolated life could do such harm. He thought of Irene, his late neighbor. After her husband passed, she slowly retreated. Curtains stayed drawn. Calls went unanswered. When Walter finally knocked one morning, it was too late. He made a mental note to call his cousin Harold tomorrow. They hadn't talked in months. Number 5, optimism. "Come on," he muttered. "Being cheerful adds years?" But the study cited was clear. People over 70 who viewed aging positively lived on average 7.5 years longer than those with a negative view. That was more than many medications could promise. Walter wasn't a cheerleader type, but he had hope. He looked forward to spring, to Sunday dinners, to the new birdhouse he planned to build. Even when his knees hurt or the news brought headlines of worry, he always said, "It'll pass." That counted for something. He thought of his old friend Doug, always muttering about the good old days and how everything's going downhill. Doug passed away last year, not long after turning 72. "I guess attitude is more powerful than we think," Walter murmured. The 6th sign, ability to get up from a chair without using your hands. Walter stood, curious. He lowered himself into the chair slowly, then pushed back up, hands at his sides. It was harder than he expected, but he did it. Researchers used this test to gauge leg strength, balance, and core stability, factors critical to avoiding falls and maintaining independence. Those who needed help with this task had significantly higher mortality rates. Walter made a mental note to practice that. He wasn't about to start powerlifting, but maybe a few squats each morning wouldn't hurt. Finally, the seventh sign, sleep quality. Not just sleep quantity, sleep quality. People who maintained deep, uninterrupted sleep tended to live longer with fewer memory issues. Walter nodded slowly. That made sense. He had always been a decent sleeper, thanks in part to his strict no TV after 9 rule and warm chamomile tea before bed. But last winter, he'd started waking at 3 a.m., tossing and turning for hours. He blamed it on age, but now he wondered if he could do better. He decided to try cutting back on coffee after noon and maybe finally buy those blackout curtains his daughter had recommended. Good sleep wasn't just comfort, it was longevity. The flyer had felt gimmicky at first, but now Walter saw it for what it was, a mirror. A glimpse into how small, often overlooked habits shape the road ahead. That Sunday, as Walter walked Daisy through the neighborhood, he felt something shift. Not fear of death, but a renewed curiosity about life. He waved to his neighbors. He straightened his posture. He tested his pace. At lunch, he cracked a joke and laughed louder than usual. Later that evening, he called Harold. They spoke for 30 minutes about the Red Sox, grandkids, and Harold's terrible gardening. "You sound good, Walt," Harold said. "I feel good," Walter replied. "Just working on my grip strength and positive outlook." Harold chuckled. "You've been reading those weird flyers again, haven't you?" Walter smiled. "Maybe, but if it adds a few more years of laughing at your terrible jokes, I'll keep reading."